The EU is trying to pull the plug on illegal firearms, which also allowed ISIL jihadists to stage their recent massacres in Europe. However, it's been revealed that an EU weapons ban, which is due to come into effect next month, missed out the very weapons used by terrorists in their atrocities.
Depending on the degree to which the weapons have been deactivated in the first place, for example, it may just involve the removal of some of the working parts that are needed for a live weapon. It can be relatively easy. It can be done quite quickly, certainly within a day, if you have the right tools and, of course, a bit of experience. It's difficult to get agreement and even more difficult to get things through the very burdensome legislative process that exists within the EU as an organisation. Of course, the different parts of the EU, the many different countries, have had different legislative approaches to this. They have different police forces, they have different legal systems, and so I think it's taken quite a while to get this legislation in place, but I think there is going to be now some increased urgency as a result of this loophole being so publicly exposed.
The European Commission has told RT that all alarm and acoustic weapons are now included in the Commission's proposals, and that the amendments aim to ensure such weapons can't be turned into real arms. The plan to change the French constitution so convicted terrorists with dual nationality would be stripped of their French citizenship has been scrapped. President Hollande proposed the idea after the Paris terror attacks, but it's been ruled out by Parliament.
We need to be able to strip French nationality from an individual found guilty of a terrorist act or other acts against a country's fundamental interests, even if he was born a French person and has another nationality.
Je constate aussi
Parts of the opposition have been hostile to a revision of the constitution. I deplore this attitude. I have decided to end this debate.
Well, to discuss this further, I'm now joined by Jacques Sapir, Director of Studies at the Paris School for Advanced Studies in the Social Sciences. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sapir. We really appreciate it. So, the initiative has been blocked by the French Parliament. Would you consider this to be a failure for anti-terror policies?
Well, more precisely, what has been blocked by both the Parliament and the Senate is the constitutionalization of such a measure, because stripping of the nationality binationals is already existing in the law. But it is absolutely true, it's a defeat not necessarily of the anti-terrorist policy, but certainly of François Hollande policy.
Why do you think lawmakers are opposed to Hollande's proposals?
What?
Sorry, why do you think lawmakers turned down President Hollande's proposals?
Well, I think that President Hollande have tried to capitalize on the terrorist attack of last November in Paris, and he has tried to unite both the right wing and part of the left wing of the electorate in an attempt to boost his popularity and to boost his position to be able to present himself at the next presidential election, which is to take place next year. But quite obviously he failed, and he failed for many reasons. The first one was the fact that he probably underestimated the amount of division both in the right and in the left. And the second reason is that by a large margin, the text of the law has been very, very badly written.
Well, we saw security across the EU stepped up after those horrific attacks in Paris last November. However, none of that seemed to help prevent those attacks in Brussels last week. Why do politicians seem to be unable to control the situation?
Well, it's really difficult. The first reason is the fact that you can't stop some terrorist attack in some weeks or even some months. It's a very, very long undertaking. And, you know, when we are looking back on Russian recent history, you know, with the problem of Chechen terrorists, it took many years for Russia to be able to keep clear of this kind of terrorist attacks. That's the first reason. The second reason is probably that the government, both in France and in Belgium, has not enough considered the problem of terrorism, has not probably acted with the necessary order of determination on this process. As a matter of fact, there have been very, very few actions taken at the beginning of last year after the first terrorist attack, the terrorist attack against Charlie Hebdo. And the government actually waked up on the problem of terrorism. It underestimated, quite obviously, only last summer. So very probably we lost 6 or 7 months in the fight against terrorism.
OK, Mr. Sapir, that's all we have time for, I'm afraid, but thank you so much for coming on the programme. We really appreciate it. Jacques Sapir, economist and director of studies at the Paris School for Advanced Studies in the Social Sciences, thank you again. We'll look into the unexplained murder of a prominent lawyer in Ukraine right after this short break.